Welcome back to another episode of Sean and Ed's Do Baseball. I'm Sean.
And I'm Ed.
And we are bringing you some baseball history.
That's right. We're a bi-weekly baseball history podcast where the story catcher doesn't know what the story pitcher is out on the mound throwing them.
But today I got a good idea.
Yeah, you've got a pretty good idea what's going on, what's about to happen. This is the second part of our Christie Pits Riot episode.
Saga.
I guess I can give that away at this point. It's been kind
it's
of
the Christie Pits Riot.
Yes.
All right. Well, yeah, if you haven't listened, tune into the first episode where Edsy brings us back to the history of the infamous ballpark in question today, as well as a little bit of local history, which would lead you up to this point. So make sure you check out episode 1 and make sure you check us out on the internet. Where can people find us on the internet, Edsy?
People can find us on different platforms of social media at Doing Baseball or at Doing.Baseball. As I've said many times, I believe well over 100 times anyway, that if you find us, if you're looking for us, you can find us at one of those two handles. And if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Podbean, wherever you're listening to us, thanks for listening, and give us a rating or review. If you want to chime in on social media, like we were just saying, it'd be great to hear some story ideas or anything like that. And once again, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Two Loons Brewing. Check out Two Loons Brewing at twoloonsbrewing.com. If you are in the Toronto area, in the GTA, or in Ontario, check out Two Loons Brewing at your local LCBO or your local beer store. You can also find them at your local pub, and if they're not at your local pub, you should ask for them at your local pub because it's a good beer. Actually, they have several good beers, and you should definitely taste it, try it. Go to twoloonsbrewing.com and find them today. And as always,
please be of legal drinking age and, of course, enjoy responsibly.
All right. Well, I'm going to, I guess, enjoy responsibly while we hear about a race riot in our hometown of Toronto.
Yes. We've been kind of building up to that. I'll talk about that in a minute. But just once again, I want to shout out to Stephen Dame for doing a lot of the anchored research of this story. I'm gonna revisit my sources at the end of this, but just like I say, as a members of the Hanlon's Point chapter, we should give a shout out to our our chaptermen. Is that a word?
Sure, it is.
It is now.
Steve did the primary research, right? So
yeah.
Thank you. We couldn't do it without people like you.
Yeah.
I have a next story coming up that's, one article just like set me off, right? Like it's absolutely amazing sometimes when you just like read one thing and then you're like, this is great. Then you just start digging a little bit more and all of a sudden you got a story.
Yeah, that's basically what happened when I found Stephen's article in the fall 2023 SABR research journal. Anyway, so I guess we'll get right into it here again, Sean.
Let's do it.
So, Sean, as we discussed in the previous episode, things were starting to heat up in the Toronto city streets between the Jewish population and the anti-Semitic Nazi swastika clubs that had begun to grow around the city. The Nazi clubs were now parading down the streets with banners, agitating people, and now groups of young Jews were starting to take to the streets themselves and fight back.
Fuck yeah.
Yes, as they should and as you would expect. 11,000 people, one of the largest crowds ever on hand at Christie Pits, came to the park and gathered upon 11,000, yeah.
I know. No, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like that's
fine.
So many. When we just saw, I mean, we should have even said like there's been some history made recently at Christie Pits in Toronto, and even there, like I would guess maybe few thousand people were there. So like just trying to picture 11,000 people is amazing.
Yeah, well, there was no internet or TV back then, Sean. So, you know,
that was it.
there was no cell phones. There was nothing for people to just sit on their ass in their living rooms and entertain themselves. So people got out and they went to the ballpark and watched baseball and softball on any given day.
That's amazing. Just crammed into the side of that hill, but you could do it. Like
Right.
you could do it.
Oh, for sure. And there's several parks there, or several diamonds there, and the park is quite large. So, and by the way, I believe this was a Wednesday. So,
people really had nothing to do.
Yeah. So, getting back here, 11,000 people gathered at Christie Pits on August 14th, 1933. Most of the patrons came to take in the action of the Western City Baseball Championship, which was contested between the Vermonts and the aforementioned in the previous episode Native Sons, which we commented that we thought that was going to be the most problematic thing to happen, but it was not, unfortunately.
No, the gun there.
Yeah, so many of these fans, several thousand in fact, eventually made their way around the pit and took in the first game of the citywide softball quarterfinal, being played between the St. Peter's Catholic Church team and the squad from Harvard Collegiate. A Harvard fan commented, quote, "Every time you went to watch a ball game, these guys with swastikas would yell, 'Hail Hitler,' and all this."
Okay.
Yeah.
Just like every time I'm at the high school softball game.
Yeah. At least
it's just Nazis.
At least in 1933, with the rise of anti-Semitism in Toronto, anyway,
and fascism in Germany. Yeah. So these guys, there's just Hitler stands in the crowd.
Yeah.
Just yelling stuff in between pitches.
Yes, that's correct. Whenever a Harvard player stepped to the plate, some supporters of the St. Peter's team would unfurl a 5-foot swastika banner. It continued.
Oh my God! And this is like the Jewish school as well at the time. We were saying in the last episode.
Yes.
Jeez, that's so bad.
Yeah.
That's so bad. That's awful.
As I said before, just agitating constantly.
Yes.
It continued throughout the course of the game, and according to the Toronto Telegram, quote, amid much wisecracking, cheering, and yelling of pointed remarks. So they're yelling epithets as well.
Pointed remarks.
Yes. Despite this overt racism, the Harvard team managed to keep cool heads about them. They remained focused and played well, coming back to tie the game in the bottom of the ninth. They held St. Peter's scoreless in the top of the 10th and gave themselves a chance to walk it off in the bottom half. Of course, as you might expect, St. Peter's supporters continued to flaunt their swastika banner. Harvard fans were starting to have enough, though, and soon the gentle cheers of the crowd descended into angry shouting and epithets being hurled across the diamond. Supporters of both clubs were finding themselves on the verge of violence.
Okay, so it's gone from like jeering to like shouting to like aggression.
Yeah, it's getting very heated. With a runner on second, a Jewish boy stepped into the box for Harvard and ripped a double, sending the runner home for a dramatic victory over the St. Peter's squad.
All right.
Supporters of both teams crashed the field as the players vacated the scene. Spectators were surprised to see that the shouting match between the two team supporters did not escalate to blows as they screamed at one another while they were pulled in separate directions.
So now Harvard walks it off against the church. The high school team beats the church.
Yes.
And then the fans rush the field to yell at each other.
That's right. Yeah. But then I assume that there were other spectators of who were not wanting to see any physical violence, were starting to pull their much more agitated friends away. Right? They're breaking it up.
There's people in the middle, but it is like a rush of the field. That's wild.
Yes. A young Jewish spectator told the Daily Star, quote, "There will be trouble when the teams play here again on Wednesday evening."
Oh, shit. See, somebody called it out. He was like, yeah, there's going to be a riot.
Yeah. It was expected. In the early morning hours of the next day, members of the Willowvale Swastikas came back to the pits armed with ladders, brushes, and white paint. They
We're
climbed
gonna
up.
climb them. Oh, they are climbing.
They are
Sorry.
climbing, yes. They climbed up to the roof of the communal clubhouse in the center of the park and got to work, painting a huge swastika above the words Hail Hitler upon it.
Gee, oh, okay. I mean,
So now they don't need to unfurl a banner. They've completely vandalized the roof of the clubhouse.
Which is like in current day, it's like just past center field.
Yeah.
At least like the one that's there today. I'm not sure if that was the same one at the time, but even still, I mean, there goes the like, oh, it's just like an Eastern religion thing. They put Hitler next to it.
Yes.
So these guys, oh God. Okay, so the park gets vandalized by the swastikas with a swastika.
Yes. A Daily Star reporter somehow later tracked down one of the painters who stated, quote, "We want the Jews out of the park."
Oof.
Yeah. Yeah. We kind of covered that earlier. That was the feelings of the Balmy Beach swastika club as well. They wanted the beach free of, I believe they said, undesirable visitors or something to that effect.
Yeah. And they just put on their stupid uniforms and marched up and down the boardwalk.
Yes. Yes. William Carroll, the St. Peter's manager, attempted to separate the actions of the club supporters from those of the players on the team. He stated that hoodlums beyond his control had started a sideshow. However, he continued to defend those hoodlums in a statement that seemed, in my opinion, to forget the context when he said, quote, "Why should St. Peter's supporters get the blame for it any more than the supporters of the Harvard team, or in fact, any other team in the park?"
So he's like, it should be their fault too.
Yeah, it should be their fault for getting pissed at the oppression being pushed upon them.
You know whose fault this is? The people that we're trying to persecute.
Yeah. Okay, so Game 2 was scheduled a couple days later for Wednesday, August 16th. And two of Toronto's daily newspapers hinted that trouble was brewing. Quote, or the Mail and Empire quoted, quote, Jewish boys who said, "Just wait until the teams meet again." The Daily Star concluded its coverage of the swastika painting by quoting a Harvard fan, quote, "We won't go to the next game to make trouble, but if anything happens, we'll be there to support our players."
Okay. So this is just brewing. Like, obviously, one side has escalated it to a ridiculously, like, just the anti-Semitism is just like off the charts, and the guys from Harvard and their fans are just like, yeah, like we're gonna go show up and cheer on our team, and just we will fight you if you want to fight us, but like we're here for baseball, or softball.
We're here for softball, but we will fuck shit up.
Yeah,
yeah. Another anonymous source told the paper that opposition to the swastikas would be more fearsome on Wednesday night.
Okay.
Yeah. A city worker named James Brinsmead went down to the Ossington Avenue police station that Wednesday morning and told constables that he felt there was a strong potential for violence. So the police dispatched an officer to each of the two ball games that were happening at the pits that evening.
They're like, all right,
we'll send one guy.
Larry, you go down there. We don't have phones, but you just run. I guess they have phones, but they might you just got to run back to the station if a riot happens.
Yeah. Come get us.
Come get us.
Yeah. The chief of police, Dennis Draper, told papers the next day he was mistaken in the notion that he didn't believe that the second game of a softball series was too serious a threat.
Okay, like, I'm kind of with this guy being like, well, there's no way that a softball game's going to end like this.
I mean,
then you're just completely underestimating people, and he seemed to be completely, just ignorant to the buildup that we have just heard about with the vandalism and the fans going back and forth in the media.
Right. I was going to say, we're looking at this with hindsight, and, based on what we know now, it seems obvious that this was about to happen and boil over. But like you say, at the time, you you can understand why the police chief was like, a softball game? Get out of here.
Yeah. And
You know.
also, like, he just didn't want to do anything about it.
Well,
It's
that's
like, it'll probably not happen, so I'm not going to worry about it and just chill.
right.
So,
We'll be
I don't know how much credit we can give him, but I will give him the, like, yeah, I didn't expect that to get this out of hand.
yes. Yeah. And here we go. But boy, was he wrong. It did not take long for a threat to materialize. Another crowd of 10,000 citizens showed up in Christie Pits that night. The quarterfinal continued on the Northwest softball field, and before the opening pitch of the softball game could even be thrown, an altercation occurred between a member of the swastikas and a Jewish spectator. The
Okay.
swastika was hit in the head with a club, and the spectator was thrown down the hill into the fence of the backstop.
Jesus.
Both men required medical attention.
Yeah. Okay. So not a great start.
No, game's not even on yet.
Yeah.
During the second inning, a group of Willowvale swastikas approached an area of Christie Pits lined with 1,000 Jewish supporters of the Harvard Collegiate Boys, and they took to shouting, "Hail Hitler," in unison.
God damn. I understand. Just fight them already.
Yeah.
It's just awful. Oh my God. Okay.
So, as you sort of alluded to here, understandably enraged, a group of the Harvard supporters lunged at the chanters and told them to shut up.
Yeah.
They did
Okay,
not
yeah.
shut up, and when they persisted, a sawed-off piece of lead pipe appeared, and the swastikas were soon being struck with it.
Oh, all right. Dudes brought pipes. They said they were going to show up like ready.
Yeah. A full-on brawl broke out and began to move up the hill towards Pendrith Avenue. Fighters were hitting each other with an array of concealed weapons as they moved out of the pits and into some nearby backyards.
Oh.
Yeah, it's spilling everywhere. The softball game was obviously paused as players watched in awe at the violent action taking place around them, but it quickly resumed. Game on.
Game on.
Yeah.
I mean, the fights have gone into people's backyards at this point.
Yeah.
Which, just imagine those people. You're like, how's the baseball game going? Look out that back window. And
There's just a cloud of dust and arms and legs coming out of it.
Like a cartoon. Yeah.
The baseball cop came over to help his softball associate, and order was restored temporarily.
Okay, so the two police officers were able to do something.
Are blowing whistles and
yeah, they're like, whoa, no.
Yeah. The game continued, as I said, and the score was tied after 3 innings when another chorus of Hail Hitler chants rang out. 4 young Jewish youths headed for the 2 men they believed were the leaders of the Nazi punks and drew their sawed-off lead pipes.
All right.
Quickly, supporters rushed to the aid of their respective fighting groups. 3 more cops arrived on motorcycles and helped to defuse the melee.
All right, we got fight number 2, and we got 3 cops showing up this time.
Yeah, so we got 5 cops now.
5 cops. We're slowly building. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe 1,000 people fighting.
Well, actually, technically it's a third one because those 2 guys went at it before the game, too.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
It was an obviously tense atmosphere, but things had not escalated too much. The police seemed to have things under control. St. Peter's took a late lead and held off the Harvard batters in the 9th as they secured a 6-5 victory to even the series at a game apiece.
Like, this is a hell of a softball game. We got extra innings. We got 6-5. Like, good games.
Yeah, I was going to say, in my experience, softball is much more high scoring than this, but anyway,
well,
that's an aside.
I'm trying to figure out, maybe what softball looked like in 1933. I'm like, is it the same as like the beer ball that we have today, or is it like were people just worse at batting?
I don't know, but I assume it's. I don't really have any evidence to surmise this opinion, but I assume it's fast pitch.
I kind of am too. That's what I'm trying to think. I'm like, trying to figure out. Like, that's what I'm trying to think. No, it's definitely like, I just am trying to imagine if it's like the beer ball softball we know of today, or if it's like a much more like competitive, like Eddie Feiner kind of like
That
crazy good fast or like fast but slow kind of game.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's not lob ball.
Yeah.
But
All right. So
any
6-5, but two great games.
Yeah.
Series tied at one apiece, but I don't know if that really is the purpose of this story.
yeah. Many members of the large crowd continued to hang around after the game was over and witnessed two young men unfurl a large white blanket with a swastika on it.
God, there was a lot of swastikas.
Yes. Yeah.
Jesus, Toronto.
Unfortunately and sadly, yes, there was. The crowd,
Okay.
as the Star put it, broke into a mild form of pandemonium. The Toronto Telegram wrote that, quote, the sign stood out like a red flag to a bull. The flag bearers were rushed by a group of Jewish youths. One of them was knocked out and another scurried away. One of the swastikas. Yes, the flag bearers.
Yeah.
Yes. The flag was captured and torn apart, and soon after, a, quote, general inrush, as the Globe described it, began to fight with fists at first, and then boots, and then with bottles, pipes, broomsticks, and baseball bats.
Oh, damn.
What became known as the Bloor Street War had begun.
Okay.
Kids were riding their bikes around the surrounding neighborhoods, crying out for reinforcements.
Oh.
As word of the fighting, so they're like Paul Revering for like their.
Like, we're fighting the Nazis. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. As word of the fighting spread, backup started to arrive from southeast of Spadina Avenue and from College Street by car and pickup truck. The police tried to intercept the incoming cavalries, but they were quickly overrun and outnumbered by the Italian and Jewish youth who were keen to split some Nazi heads.
I love that the Italians got involved. They're like, yeah, we're coming too. Like,
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're kind of fascists as well, but we'll fight with you guys.
Yeah.
They're just like, we're just in for a fight. You want to fight? Let's fight.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, Italian.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, okay. So they all live in the same neighborhood together. So yeah, they're all just like, they're all friends. So they're all going. They're like, screw
Right,
it.
right.
We're done with this stuff. Let's
And-
just kick some ass.
And they're all, probably to different levels, but they're all being discriminated against at this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have no doubt that the same people that look down on both groups of people are the same ones unfurling the Nazi flags and
Yes.
shit like that. Like, it's fucked up. Of course, there's just and like if you grow up together, like you're gonna support your neighbor and your friend. So
That's right.
I just been picturing that, like kids like eating soup at the table and then hearing their friend like, we're fighting the Nazis, and they're just like running out the door. And the mom's like, you didn't bring a sweater.
Yeah. Vehicles carried not only fighters, but their weapons as well. A 7-foot-long piece of lumber with a spike driven through it was later found in an abandoned truck near the war zone.
Okay. But that's also like, I mean, an abandoned truck. Like they're just like, there's a spike in the back of this truck. Maybe that truck like worked on the railroad.
I was going to say,
I'm
maybe it was a construction truck, but
yeah, exactly.
You know
I'm
what
like,
they
that's
say.
Not rare.
Someday they'll make a board with a spike so big they'll destroy them all. The fighting continued for an hour before police reinforcements arrived, but the cops were unable to immediately dissipate the violence. They slowly settled things down as the brawling tapered off over the next 90 minutes. Around 10 p.m., the fracas spilled out of the pits and onto Bloor Street as thousands of fighting youths blocked the street. Streetcar bells and car horns added to the cacophony. The growing police force at the scene was finally large enough to end the assaults at about 10:30 p.m.
Okay. That is an incredibly long time to fight.
Yes. Yeah. I could never fight that long. I'd been in some hockey fights, and
Yeah.
I don't think they ever
3
lasted.
minutes.
3 minutes that'd be forever.
Ever. No, forever. Yeah. No, like even like a mosh pit. Like, come on. Like
Yeah.
go in there.
Yeah.
The whole show, you're just drenched and oh god. But yeah.
Please don't do 2 songs back to back.
Well, I mean, I love it. Just like they're probably like organized at like switching guys in. It's like a hockey thing where they're like change lines and
It's like a
with a spike through his arm.
It's like a
Just new guy.
tag team match. It's like a
you
hardcore
go.
tag team match.
Yeah, except this time it's real people against real Nazis.
Yes. Yeah. So, like I said, the police kind of ended the assaults at about 10:30. However, the
Hmm.
peace did not last. A Jewish teenager named Joe Goldstein had been chased across the pits and knocked unconscious during the initial fighting, and he was carried to the nearby home of his sister-in-law and then taken to hospital by a police escort. Goldstein was badly injured, and rumors spread around the Jewish neighborhoods that he had been killed, even though
Oh,
his wounds were actually not life-threatening.
okay.
The rumors reignited the violence, and before long, more truckloads of Jewish youths were speeding back towards the softball grounds, shouting loudly and armed with any kind of weapons they could get their hands on.
Fuck. All right.
Many of the trucks were loaded with as many as 25 young men, and they were met by a column of police on horseback. They managed to break the line and charged towards a large group of swastika-clad enemies. Altercations broke out again as the groups attacked one another with broom handles, stones, pipes, and blackjacks. You know what a blackjack is? I had to look it up.
Yeah,
But
yeah, that's that like thing that will like knock you out, like in the old timey movie thing. Like,
yeah,
it's
with
just,
a leather strap and you can spin it.
is there any other use for it other than just knocking people on the head with it?
I can't think of one.
Like it's just, I guess so. It's just such a primitive yet useful weapon.
Yeah, it has less uses than a gun.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But like, it's just like, yeah, it's just kind of like a heavy thing that I can just like bonk you with.
Yeah,
It's just, but these people are like, this is not like teenagers scrapping. These are, or like these people, like this, they are coming prepared to like do damage.
yes, exactly. Hundreds of fighters jumped back into the fray, and the police had lost control again, and before they knew it, 8 blocks were lawless and out of control.
Fuck.
The fracas
Oh
was
my god.
the fracas.
Sorry.
No, were you gonna add to that?
No, I wasn't. I
You're
was just, I just, oh my god, it at the wrong time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair enough. The fracas was a state of pandemonium in the streets, as I said. Fighters on both sides of the fray were accused of being reckless and irresponsible in the riot. One witness was horrified to, quote, see a gentleman past middle age who was taking no part in the violence struck on the head with a baseball bat.
Yeah. No, that's just, I mean,
So we
they
got
don't
we
say
got
which
quote unquote
side.
civilians. Well, that's
Just
what I'm
being
saying. Yeah.
wrapped up in it. You think he was just like, go home, everyone, just go home.
Shut up, old man.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's messed up. It's like mob mentality. This is where like things like get out of hand. Obviously, they've been fighting for hours now, and
Yeah.
it seems like it's just roving gangs, and then they'll like meet up and fight, and then like break apart, and then meet up in another place and fight. Like it's just roving lawlessness at this point.
Yeah. It's a riot. Another
It's a riot.
Yeah. Another young, no pun intended, another young man named Joe Brown said that he was innocently walking home from the pits when 5 youths jumped out of a passing car and assaulted him with clubs. Solly Osalki rushed in to help a fallen youngster on Bloor Street and was attacked for his efforts. Quote, they bellabored me with their clubs.
Bellaboard?
Yeah, I've never heard that word before reading this quote, but it's in there.
It's 1930s for shit kicked me.
Yeah. David Fisher, who had been a spectator at the ball game, told the Daily Star that he was about to head home when, quote, some fellow then hit me over the head and started to shout, Hail Hitler.
Oh God. I mean, yeah, I guess that was earlier in the night, but like, yeah, I guess people that were literally just there to see softball got caught up in this.
Yeah. The fighting continued in and around Christie Pits after 11:30 p.m. The riot began to split into smaller battles as injuries, fatigue, and a growing police presence took hold. Bloor Street was once again blocked by a group of rioters, and the police employed a new tactic. The brigade of motorcycle cops would charge the fighters and then turn the exhaust pipes towards the crowd, spewing the fumes into it in an attempt to choke the combatants.
What?
They,
They're trying. they're just like putting exhaust in their face.
Yeah, they're trying to. This is I guess. Well, I'm sure smoke bombs were invented by then, but anyway,
Yeah.
this was
So
this was a mobile smoke bomb.
the Ossington unit of the Toronto Police seemed just useless. At
Yes.
this point.
Yeah.
Like, I know, we'll just turn us around and just gas them out. Well, they're outside, sir. No, it'll work. They'll go home.
Yeah. At midnight, the crowd had dissipated to less than 200 within 100 yards of the park. A few fistfights continued to persist as the police patrolled the streets around the Ball Diamonds, but by 1:30 a.m., the riot was officially declared over, ending 6 hours of civil unrest.
Oh, wow.
So, anyway, amazingly, there were no fatalities in the fray. Goldstein, Fisher, Brown, and Osalski were reported to sustain the worst injuries, along with another two men named Al Eckler and Louis Kostick. The extent of their injuries were, all things considered, pretty minor, as they suffered cuts, abrasions, and some trauma to the head and neck.
Okay.
Yeah. A few,
Just some.
Yeah. A few people suffered broken bones, but most of them were released from the hospital the next day. But I'm sure that many injuries went unreported. You know, a lot of people probably just never went to the hospital or anything like that. So, but these are the worst that we know about anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no doubt that there was a few more injuries than what was reported.
Mm-hmm. Only 2 arrests were made. Russell Harris of Bloor Street, who had been caught with a fishing knife, was held on a charge of vagrancy and later dismissed.
I was just catching fish.
It's funny you say that because he was told by a Toronto magistrate to leave his knife at home unless he was scaling fish.
Yeah. You can scale fish going down the sidewalk. All right. Let's not just bring the knife out, right? Especially during the riot.
I also just want to comment that, like, vagrancy.
Yeah, I guess that was like a catch-all charge. Like, they're just like, you're like, what is the definition of vagrant? Is it just like somebody being
just
outside?
Yeah, like I thought it was similar to loitering, but
yeah, it's a person without a settled home or regular work who wanders place to place. But there's also like you know, like I guess, I don't know, roving. Roving is a similar word, so maybe that's it. They were like, you were roving in a like.
You were in the wrong place at the wrong time, Harris.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, this man definitely brought a knife out to kill some people that night.
Yeah.
So like, let's not back him up too hard.
Yeah. Jack Roxborough was held on a charge of carrying offensive weapons since he'd been seen wielding a metal club above his head. And he was given the option of paying a $50 fine or serving 2 months in jail.
What would you pick?
What would I pick? I'd definitely pay $50.
All right.
I mean, I know $50 is different in 1933, but still.
Yeah.
I feel like 2 months in jail is worth more than $50.
All right, $226.
100%, $226 without question.
No. I did it all wrong. Sorry. That's only for $10. So it's a little steeper. It's about $1,100. $1,130.
$1,130?
Yeah, $1,100.
Okay.
You know, I mean, yeah, you'd probably pay that because 2 months in jail, you'd probably lose your job. But
100%. I'd probably lose my job with 1 week in jail.
Well, you never know. We could try it.
No, thanks. It's okay.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. Secretary of the TASA, Jack Turner, announced the organization's decision that in the wake of the riot, no more league games would be played in Christie Pits until, quote, the present trouble had been cleared up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're just like, no more games, especially here.
No more games at the pits. It's too hostile.
Yeah, it's too hot right now. It's too hot.
Yeah. William Carroll and Bob Mackey, managers of both competing teams, denied any responsibility for the riot and stated that none of their players had participated in the disturbance. Both teams would need to continue the series with new bats, since their equipment had been stolen and weaponized by the mob.
Oh my God. All right. I mean, I guess.
I mean, I could see that. The dugouts being raided by the crowd, and,
Yeah.
you know.
You just try to play a game and a spectator's just climbing the fence to grab your bat out of your hand and go hit somebody waving a swastika flag. Oh God. Okay.
What a
all
fucked
right.
up scene.
I mean, I can't imagine, like, I can picture it because I've been there, but like I can't imagine just, you know, the roving groups of people fighting, and it's just, I mean, it's wild. It's wild. With flashpoints, this freaking softball game between a church and a high school.
Yeah. What a strange catalyst. The third and final game of the series was scheduled by the TASA a week later on August 23rd at Convoy Soccer Stadium, which was an enclosed stadium at Ossington and DuPont, about 12 blocks northwest of Christie Pits. They also decided that in an attempt to keep away what they described as undesirables, this would be a ticketed event.
Okay. So like charge money, and then people won't show up just to fight.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I've seen people show up to fight at ticketed events, but anyway, that's what they were trying to do. The police deployed a squad from its Ossington Avenue division to surround the stadium and keep watch on all entry points. Police also forced onlookers on a nearby rail bridge to leave. They're like, you got tickets for this bridge? Then get the hell out of here.
You can't be watching no high school softball around here.
Did you see what happened last week?
Yeah. Next thing you know, you're going to be beating his brains in.
Yeah. Only 71 loyal spectators paid to see the match.
Oof.
Yeah. The Daily Star wrote the next day that it was one of the finest exhibitions of softball ever witnessed in Toronto. The match extended into extras again, when Red Burke hit a walk-off homer in the 11th for a 4-3 victory and a comeback win in the series for St. Peter's.
Ah, damn. My boys from Harvard.
Yeah, I know.
I feel for them. They tried their best. That's another great game. That is another great game.
Yep. I mean, sounds like it was a great series altogether. No wonder 11,000 people showed up.
Exactly.
I mean, what else is there to do?
You kind of ruined it for everybody there, but, you know, at the same point, there was, like, actual Nazis. So, you know,
yeah,
fighting them's not the end of the world. But, yeah, it's absolutely, it sucks that it was in the stadium. And, like, once again, Christie Pits is impossible to have ticketed events because it is in a pit, and you can just walk on the sidewalk above it and see everything going on.
That's
in the baseball diamond.
Yeah, you can't. Well, I guess you could close the sidewalk, but.
I mean, but that would be too. That's the best part about the pits is like it's just the best view from a natural kind of weird man-made landscape that we created. As talked about in the last episode.
Yeah,
sand pit.
Yeah, the Globe covered the heartbreaking loss for Harvard and wrote of their grace. Quote: "Like true sportsmen, they shook hands with the winners and wished them good luck in their future games." St. Peter's would.
I guess.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's just. No, it's the quarterfinal.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
I thought it was the finals.
Yeah,
I forgot.
St. Peter's would go on to the next round, only to lose to a team known as the Millionaires, who were in turn bested in the final by a team sponsored by Citgo.
Citgo?
Like the oil and gas company.
Weird.
I know.
Definitely ringers on that too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There was some amateurism going on there.
Oh, definite amateurism.
I mean, that's alleged, but anyway, I'm going to confirm that that's what happened.
Absolutely.
So the aftermath is that following the riot, the swastika became much more taboo on the streets of Toronto. The Balmy Beach Swastika Club abandoned the logo and changed its name within 24 hours. An emergency meeting was called, and members saw the error of their ways as they voted to allow both Jews and Gentiles to serve together on committee and work in unison to protect and clean the beach.
What?
Yeah.
No, that sounds too good to be true. Like that makes sense.
That's what it said in Stephen's article. So
I thought you were gonna tell me they changed their name to like the Lions Club or something.
no,
That's gonna be like, oh no.
no.
They were like, we're wrong about just the imagery. We are right about our. No, they actually were like, okay, we are. Well, I mean, maybe violence works.
Yeah, maybe getting your
Question
ass
mark?
kicked does make history, change history.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
there were other swastika clubs that still existed, but as the decade wore on, they continued to decline in favor with residents of Toronto. By 1936, Toronto newspapers no longer even mentioned them.
Okay, good.
Yep. A few hours after police had restored order to Christie Pits, Toronto Mayor William Stewart addressed the media and warned all constituents that displaying the swastika would make one liable to prosecution. He stated, quote, "The repeated and systematic disturbances in which the swastika emblem figures provocatively must be investigated and dealt with firmly. The responsibility is now on the citizens to conduct themselves in a lawful manner."
Damn, Toronto, you're like changing my mind. I mean, obviously, we learned a lot of weird stuff in the last episode, but like, okay, seems to have made things better.
Yeah, yeah. I guess so. I guess like a 6-hour riot between races will cause one to have some reflection.
So we don't want to do that again.
Yeah, yeah. And we realize who the bad people were in this too, which, we kind of,
No, I thought the opposite was going to be happening. They were going to be like those, like I thought they were going to go really like a little bit more like both sides of them, but seems to fall pretty heavily on blaming one side, which is the side that should be blamed.
Yes. 3 more arrests were made the following Friday. Jack Pippy, 17, Charles Boosted, 18, and Earl Perrin, 21, were charged with unlawful assembly. Pippy's parents owned a garage on Crawford Street, and in it, police found the white paint and paraphernalia used to smear the swastika on the Pits clubhouse. I'm not sure how they proved that, but anyway.
That's very circumstantial.
Yeah.
We keep getting all lawyery anytime there's like a crime. We're like, yeah, I don't know, but sure.
2 days after the riot, senior baseball returned to Christie Pits amid a noticeable police presence. A group of approximately 100 teenagers mingled in the area, mostly out of curiosity, so said the police. But many of the teens apparently concealed weapons in their coats, according to the Globe, but they found no trouble, according to the police. The Globe continued to say that, quote, "calm prevailed in the swastika war zone."
Jeez. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, you still got youth arming themselves in case another riot flashes off, but everything's chilling out.
Yeah, but nothing happened. For decades to come, both Harvard and St. Peter's continued to field teams in the Christie Pits Softball League, and there were no further incidents of anti-Semitism involving the two teams. In 2008, the city installed a permanent plaque near the Bloor Street entrance to Christie Pits, and it reads in part, quote, "On August 16th, 1933, at the end of a playoff game for the Toronto Junior Softball Championships, one of the city's most violent ethnic clashes broke out in this park. Joe Goldstein, the boy whose rumored death reignited the riot, was present for the unveiling." And another witness of the riot remembered that August night quite clearly. They wanted to remain anonymous, so I don't have their name, but they said, quote, "When we got to the pits, it seemed to me that half of the Jews and half of the Goyim of the city were there. There were a lot of heads broken. There was a tremendous confrontation, and I would definitely say that we won. We were proud. I think for a week we were higher than a kite."
Okay. We kicked some Nazi ass.
Yeah.
And we won.
And that is the story of the Christie Pits riot. 6 hours of unrest that happened because a few angry people in Toronto had some misguided feelings about other Torontonians, and how the growing anti-Semitism in the city and across the world spilled over into one of Toronto's most famous parklands, all because a team from the Jewish neighborhood made it to the city softball quarterfinals. And when confronted with oppression, they decided to fight back. And to finish off, Sean, I would like to actually revisit the quote from Stephen Dame's piece at SABR I used in the first episode of this story. Quote,
Yep.
Toronto's worst incident of civil unrest happened in one of the most storied ballparks. It was a race riot. It was a lawless free-for-all. It was a surge that menaced the innocent. It was also the oppressed launching a counterstrike against their oppressors during 9 innings of junior softball. The riot at Christie Pits Park permanently scarred the city of Toronto and its perennial branding as tolerant, orderly, and just.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Stephen. That was great, Edsy. Certainly changed my perspective on the overall history of the city. And honestly, I had, other than that, there was I couldn't even tell you. I knew there was some like Nazis versus Jews thing in like that was the people, but I didn't. Other than reading the plaque, I don't think I've read anything more on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is also wild that dude was there, because you said it was in 2008 they unveiled the plaque.
Yes.
Yeah, so he would have had.
He was an old man, or he was very young at the time that it happened.
When I was 3, I got beaten unconscious.
It's not funny, but yeah.
No,
I know what you're saying.
Not. But yeah, no. So that dude lived to be like 90 at least. That's awesome.
Yeah. To just to kind of touch upon that too. One of my sources for this story as well. I mean, as I mentioned, the Stephen Dame article in the Research Journal was the main anchor for this. Like I've essentially, basically paraphrased it, but another great source for this was the podcast for the Hogtown experience, which dramatized the whole event. It was kind of told from the perspective of Sam Rosenthal's, I believe, grandfather,
cool.
who was actually going to meet a girl that he liked at the game, and one of his older brothers was like one of the main combatants that was kind of one of these Jewish youth quote unquote gangs that was fighting back. So
yeah, they weren't taking shit anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I recommend checking that out. You can find it on Spotify. And
Awesome.
Again, like I also found some great writings on this at museumoftoronto.com, the Canadian Encyclopedia, the University of Toronto Library, and a book by Ira Robinson from Wilfrid Laurier University Press, which I believe was called The Rise of Anti-Semitism in Canada. But anyway, I'm just kind of trying to remember that off the top of my head. But anyway,
yeah,
you can do a lot of in-depth reading about this race riot that happened in the summer of 1933.
I think this is probably going to be the only time we cover a youth softball match.
at least in this context, yeah.
For sure in this context. I don't know how many other places had that happen. No, that was great. Yeah, I didn't expect that, even to make that into 2 parts. Really great, and thanks to all the researchers and all the people that researched and helped you with that story. So yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, until next time, where can people find us, Edsy?
As I said at the top, you can find us on some form of social media at Doing Baseball or at Doing.Baseball. And if you're wherever you're listening to us, if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, Podbean, wherever it is, give us a rating or review. It helps give us a little bit of a boost there, and we would greatly appreciate it. And thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. Give us a follow as well. Give us, that seriously helps the podcast. And we have more baseball history coming to you in 2 weeks, thanks to 2 Loons. Thanks to Edsy for bringing us this story. And until next time, I'm Sean.
And I'm Eds.
And we were doing the baseball.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.